with North Korea. Sanctions apparently aren't working. Why that is and what we can do instead to try and bring that rogue nation to heel. Well, there's more provocative action from Pyongyang. That, as North Korea says, it launched another missile from a submarine and continues to build up its nuclear weapons program. Well, officials from the U.S. and South Korea now are so concerned they're considering new sanctions on the North. But an in-depth look by the Wall Street Journal is finding those sanctions just may not work. The journal citing a study that shows North Korea has grown resistant to sanctions by building up its business operations with China, its only major political ally. Joining us now, one of the scholars behind that study, Jim Walsh, an international security expert for the MIT Security Studies program. Jim, good to see you as always. Look, sanctions haven't worked. They got the bomb. Bill Clinton's 1994 oil and food deal to stop the North, total abject failure. So is the regime now only stronger despite these years of sanctions?
Well, I think in some ways their procurement has gotten better because we've imposed sanctions, but they've responded, they've innovated. And in our study, we look at what we call North Korea Inc., the system of companies that hires private Chinese middlemen to do all the work for them. But we think there is a way to sort of disrupt and break up North Korea Inc., and that will make it harder for them to procure materials and technology for their missiles and weapons program. And you're right, Eric, you're absolutely right. They have crossed that nuclear threshold, but there's still some distance here before they're able to build a secure second strike. They have a real nuclear capability in a military sense. So I think there's a strong reason for us to try to disrupt North Korea Inc., work with China, and try to prevent them from acquiring more technology and more weapons-related material.
So what should we do to do that we're not doing now?
Well, I think one of the things we're not doing is we have not focused on North Korea Inc. I've briefed a lot of people who didn't even know that the North had changed their procurement tactics. But I also think we have to deal with China. Now, a lot of folks don't like China. They lecture China on this, and there's a dilemma. China doesn't want North Korea to have nuclear weapons because it's bad for them. On the other hand, they worry that if they squeeze North Korea is going to collapse, and they're going to have a failed nuclear weapons state on their border, and they don't want that. So how to get around that dilemma? We say, my colleague John Park and I say, go to China and say, use your domestic laws, the things you're already committed to, your anti-corruption campaign, your anti-counterfeiting, and then focus that on these Chinese firms that are helping North Korea Inc. And in that way...
You think they would really do that, though? Think that the Chinese really play ball? They protected the North Koreans at the Security Council for years.
Yeah, it's true, except, Eric, it's also true more recently. Just over this weekend, they supported that UN statement condemning the missile tests. They're saying they want denuclearization as a policy. And when I was in China, I have to tell you, I was shocked by the response. We had a lot of people nodding heads and showing interest in the report. So I think there's a chance here. But as long as North Korea is getting 90% of its goods and services from China, then we have to engage China if we're going to have any progress here.
Maybe they're finally getting fed up with Kim Jong-un's regime's behavior. And finally, more boasts. Is this just empty blowvacation that we've heard from them for years? They're saying they're going to blow the lights out at the DMZ. You get the lights that are on all night right there on the border. And they're also going to open fire, if need be, on our troops. There are 28,000 U.S. troops stationed in South Korea. Should we take this type of bluster seriously, and what does that mean?
Well, they've said a lot of those things, and they haven't done them. I think they're smart enough to know that if they start a war, they're going to lose. And they don't. And the one thing Kim Jong-un doesn't want to do is lose power. And we see this is an annual play, Eric. We see it every August. Every time the U.S. and South Korea have military exercises, we get these sort of provocations.